Hi, this is Dave, and today we are bringing Onami to the table. And this is a game that was on my 2016 most anticipated games coming out at Gen Con, my geek list that I had. And in this game, 2 to 6 players are going to be battling it out in an area control game that's abstract and is a tile-laying based game that uses a cool mechanic of greater than, less than, as cards go out that generates waves to spread their areas of control. Let's take a look at this game, how it's played, and I'll come back and I'll share my thoughts. So here we have the components for Onami, and there's a board divided up into 25 spaces where the action is going to take place. There are a stack of these cards, and if we look at them, we have a Japanese theme to them. There's lotus leaves, and we have samurais. And if we look at the cards, there's going to be numbers on them in the north, south, east, and west locations that have different values, and that's going to be really important when it comes to the gameplay. And we'll get to that shortly. There's also 2 sets of markers that come in the game. We have these ones that are 2-sided. They're black on one side, white on the other. You use these for a 2-player game. And then we have a bunch of dice that come with 6 different faces on them that you're going to use in multiplayer games. Each player is going to choose a symbol to represent them. So you can see the different ones that we have. And so those will be going on the game board. So those are the components that come in the game. Let me show you how the game is played. So I'm going to show you how this game is played using 3 players. So I have the dice set up. First player is black, second player will be red, third player will be green. And I just want to give you the principles of how the game is played. So each player is going to have a starting hand of 5 cards. And we're going to go through and look at them. Look at the numbers that are on there, because it's going to be really important for how this game is played, because what we're trying to do is each card that you place is going to create a wave, and if the wave is large, has a sum or a larger number than the card next to it, it will become part of your cards that you have. So it's going to be a strategic way that you're going to place cards. So like 9s are the strongest number that's on there, and the 0s are the weakest, and you can see that there's different configurations here. This has got a lot of 0s in this one. So this could be an interesting hand to work with. But anyways, just for the sake of this demo, we're going to choose a card and we're going to place it on the table. And I'm going to place it down in this corner. And I'm going to place it like this. I can rotate it, orient it any way that I want, but I want to have the 6 up and the 9 this way. And I'm going to place one of the dice with my symbol on it. So the black would go there, and then draw another card. I can place it anywhere on the board that I want to, and when cards are placed, they don't have to be placed adjacent. So the next player is going to look at their cards, and they're going to look to see what they're wanting to do. And maybe they decide that they want to try to attack this card, so they're going to need to have something larger than a 6. We have a 6 facing up, so I'm going to need at least a 7 that's next to it. And we're looking through the cards, and I'm not really seeing anything with a 7 at this point. So we have a lot that are tying, so maybe we're just going to set another spot. Maybe we'll put these 0s in this corner over like this. We don't want to be maybe hostile. Draw a card and place one of the dice on there. Will be this red, like that. And the third player's turn, we'll get started, and we'll look through their cards and see what they have. And we have something that has an 8 on it, so maybe we will use this 8. And so if I decide to do this, I am going to, maybe I'll place this card like this. And we're going to do a comparison on this card. So the first thing that I'm going to do is place a die on there. That's the third player, to make it so that it's green. And I'm going to zoom in so we can see now. We're going to do a comparison. This is an 8 that was placed, and this is a 6. This is greater than this one by 2, so what's going to happen is it's going to generate a wave of 2, in which those cards are going to change now their symbols. This one is now going to send this wave out and is going to become the green symbol, like this. And it would continue on around the corner. For example, if there was another card, and we have to look at this, the way that these waves go, is they can actually turn, and they're going to continue going as long as the next card, as long as this one would be greater than this one. So if I put this card out, if it was facing like this, and this was another color, this would all of a sudden now become green, because we have 1, 2, because of this initial wave of 2. If this was on the 7 side, we have the 6. Let's say this was the black player's number. This 6 is less than the 7. This wave would stop, and so that would not happen. So if it was placed this way, so you can see now what's going to happen. And this is going to go on in different directions. So every time that you place a card, it's going to go in different directions. So we'll say that that was a turn over there in that corner. Green controls all of that. Now, maybe we decide that we're going to want to do something about that. Maybe we'll place a card like this. This is going to, so we'll put this down as the black. We look at this 2 and this 2, they are the same, so nothing's going to happen here. But this 4, there's a 4, is greater than this 2 by 2, and so it's going to happen now. This one here is going to turn to black. This one is greater than this one. This will turn to black. And we're going to continue doing this. Each time that you play a card, you're going to draw a card, and you're going to be working on trying to fill up the board. Let me show you what the game board is going to look like as the game progresses. So I've added a few more tiles, and it's now the red player's turn. I want to show you something here about how the waves end again. So we look at this. I'm going to place this one on, we've got a 4. And this is a 0. This is going to actually give me 4 spaces that I can conquer, because 4 minus 0 is 4. So this will turn to red. But now we look, the wave is going to end here because there is, this is a 6, 0 is less than 6. We start looking at some of these cards that if we decided to do something like this now, if this was the green player's turn, we place the green, and we notice that this is going to give me a change in direction of 2, 4 minus 2, and this is also 4 minus 2. This is going to go in 2 directions. Now with the green, let me move this light. This we cannot go through something that's already our own control, so that's going to stop right there. However, this one will turn green as well. And so you can see that over the course of the game, we're going to be playing tiles and working to control the area. It looks right now like green is really going to be taking it to them. However, let's say now it's the black player's turn, and we have this something with a 9. So we're going to place this 9 over here. This will turn to black. 9 minus 6 is 3, so this one is already black. 9 minus 3 is 6. This is going to give me a total of 6 where I can extend my wave. So this one here is going to turn to black, so that's 1. This one here I can turn 2. This one 4 minus 2, this is greater. This is 3. This 6 is greater than the 2. This is a 4. 4 over 2, this is 5. And now I can't turn anywhere here, and this is already black, so that wave is going to end. And these 2 down here are cannot be affected. And so that's going to be how that would work on the turn. We're going to continue playing until this whole board is filled, and whoever has the most dice of their face showing will be the winner. Alright, so you had a chance to see Onami played. Let's talk about the game. And the first thing that I want to talk about is the fact that this game was on my 2016 games of interest or anticipated games that were releasing at 2016 Gen Con. And I came across this one while browsing through the geek list that Eric Martin had put together over on Board Game Geek, and saw the box cover, and it kind of caught my attention, and so I clicked on the link, and it took me over. I read the description of the game, and I watched a playthrough of the game by the designer and his son or daughter. I'm not sure. It was one of his kids. They played back and forth, and the game looked really, really cool, and so it was on my games of interest list. I thought it was cool, and I put a comment on there. Could this be like a sleeper hit of the convention? And so, while I was at Gen Con over in Entrepreneurs Row, I went over to the Wyvren Gaming booth and talked to them, and I was provided with a review copy. So, here we have this one for me to present to you and talk about. And so, let's talk about the game, and then I want to talk about the production quality, and then we'll talk about the gameplay itself. So, the first thing is we have really, really nice artwork on the cards. I really like them. The cards are actually quite durable, and again, we've got a really nice card backs, and then we've got like this retro Japanese style look on all of these. It's very, very casual. One of my friends thought it was like this retro Japanese look, but when the cards start coming out, the game looks like something that like an old game that would be being played. And so that was cool. And on the back of the game box, there's like a little legend about the game itself. It talks about the story behind Onami. So I thought that was kind of a neat thing. And this is all, you know, again, kind of captures this Japanese culture. Now the game is very abstract, and so the theme itself is pretty light, but the artwork does look cool and does make it have this Japanese feel. Production quality also for the dice. These custom dice are very, very cool. They look great, you know, and it makes it very easy for this game to accommodate more than 2 players. Like, the game does come with the two-sided pieces, and you can use them for 2 players. But it's a lot more fun to be handling these things and turning them around. Do have couple things that with the production quality that if I were to nitpick on them, I thought that the game board itself was a little on the thin side, and so it takes a little bit of work to press it out to get flat, but it can. I do notice that a little bit I have to put some weight on there to flatten it out a little bit. So I wish that the board could have been a little bit thicker, but it does work for playing the game. It does. Actually, you wouldn't even really need a game board. You can just set out cards in a 5x5 grid, but the board is a nice touch. And the other thing is that the game box itself, when you put everything inside here, there is quite a bit of room. I mean, you put the board in there and you stack a little bit of dice, and there's still quite a bit of real estate that is unused, and so it could have been a little bit of a thinner box design, maybe almost not quite half, maybe a little bit more than half of this. So those are the only 2 things, like production quality, that I had issues with the game. The rules are very, very well written, although I did want to clarify, I did clarify something with the publisher about the way that the waves go, because it says that, talks about in here where a wave stops. When I showed you, it's like when it reaches the border of the game board. But it says that a wave can turn, and so I'm like, okay, well, if it reaches the end, then wouldn't it turn? Basically, what happens is if it can't make a left or right along the way, it's just going to go. It hits the end of the game board, and it doesn't wrap around the other side. So I wanted to clarify that. So that was the only thing that. Other than that, the rules are very, very well written, and the game is very, very simple. So we cover all of the production quality and everything else. Now we get into the gameplay itself, and this game, the best way to describe this one is we found this to be a very, very pleasant, like, palate cleansing game. This is something that doesn't take a long time to play. 15 to 20 minutes, even with 5 players. Game plays very, very quickly, and we found this to be a nice way to kind of cap off the night. Never tried it at the opening of a night to get things started, but usually this is a nice one if you're playing some stuff that's a little bit more intense. This is a nice something to start coming down off of that with, and we found this to be a really, really good spot for this game. There are some really cool elements that I do like about this. First of all, you've got this tile laying aspect, so you're flipping things around and you're doing mental math. So this is good for the kids because you're looking at the numbers going, okay, is it greater than? Is it less than? So there's a math fundamentals that you can even use with the kids and integrating this as a family game. You have the greater than, less than, and then you're looking at the difference between the two numbers to see what the strength of the wave is. And so so you're doing that. You're keeping your mind engaged. Okay, I know how to do simple math. Okay, 4 minus 2 is 2. Okay, I got 2 spaces. And it's really neat when you start playing the game, and it gets a little bit more when you're filling in gaps and you have waves going in multiple directions. You've got you do one at a time, basically. But it's really, really neat that way. And then not only that, when you're playing the game itself, you've got this hand management and placement thing that you have to think about in each turn, because you're like, all right, I've got some cards that have really, really high numbers on them. Do I want to use it now? Because then if I use an 8 next to a 4, that's going to give me 4, but maybe there's only 2 cards, there's 2 tiles, so I'm wasting 2 power on my wave. But then on the other hand, they're not going to be able to go in the reverse direction and take over stuff. So you're thinking about stuff like, how are you going to place these cards, or which cards are you going to play, and then where you're going to place them on the board. So it gives you a nice way to be engaged in playing the game, but it's not too heavy, but it still gives you some things to think about, and it's going to be something that will appeal to gamers, and especially like this puzzly type games. So we like that. And then the other thing too is how this game scales, because if you play with 2 players, it's back and forth, and you have 25 spaces, and you're going to essentially one player is going to have 13 turns, the other one's going to have 12. So a lot can happen during the course of the game. But as you play more players, then it's going to change things up a little bit. You're going to have less turns to make an impact. And we found the sweet spot, believe it or not, at 5 players. 5 players, I think, is the best way to play this game because each player gets 5 turns. So over the course of the game, you have 5 turns to watch and see how things are going, place your cards in there, and try to do the best that you can. And we noticed that the scores are very, very tight in this game, which is so it keeps everybody engaged, and you're looking and you don't really know who wins the game until you get to the end. And so every time that you play it, the game is going to be exciting. It's all going to be about outwitting your opponents playing these cards. So found the game to be very, very enjoyable. Keeps you engaged. It's not too heavy. Families can play it. Gamers are going to enjoy it. I do think in my mind that it was one of, I don't know if it was the sleeper hit, but it was certainly a hidden gem that I came across at Gen Con, and I really, really enjoyed the game. I think that it's priced well, and I think that if you're looking for a game that is going to still keep your mind stimulated, but it's nice coming off of something that's a lot more intense, this makes a great fit. This is something that I usually bring with me on my Friday nights. I go out and I play with some friends at a local gaming store, and we've used this one usually as a follow-up. If we're playing something like Concordia, or if we're playing Mombasa, some pretty thinky games. This one is a nice one to start coming down off of that. And believe it or not, my one friend Russ, these are not his type of games, but he has played it, and he actually did quite well, and he actually did enjoy it. So for people who even maybe not are fans of abstract games, this one still has a fit that way. So anyways, so that is Onami. Like I said, despite the couple of production issues with the game, you know, it takes up probably a little bit more space on your shelf than it should, and the board being a little thin. I have no other complaints about the game. I think that the design is a solid design, and I think that the game is enjoyable. So if you're looking for something that's going to keep your mind engaged, maybe something that's going to be a little mathy for the kids, Onami might be something that you might want to check out. So, alright, that's it for now, and join me again next time as we bring another game to the table. Bye-bye.